June 14th, 1998. Game 6 of the 1998 NBA Finals. Considered by many to be the greatest game in NBA history, with Dennis Rodman giving Malone a hard time, with John Stockton's clutch three to give the Jazz some hope, and Michael Jordan's last game as a Bull on the line. And after Michael Jordan came up clutch on defense, the Bulls needed to be clutch on offense. 3 seconds remaining, and Jordan is bringing up the ball. Nobody in the damn crowd is sitting down for this moment. It is up to this one man particular, who is guarding Michael Jordan. So why him? Why this random Jazz player? Sure, we may have heard of John Stockton, Malone, Andrew and Dantley, Darren Williams, Carlos Boozer, Donovan Mitchell, Gobert, Hayward, hell even Memo Okur throughout Jazz history. But this Jazz player, who we have never heard of, was assigned to guard the greatest basketball player in the history of this league for this one final play. And unfortunately,
it was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
Open. Chicago with the lead. And strips him. So 3 crucial plays here by Michael Jordan now as he gets Bryon Russell with a quick crossover. Look at Bryon Russell slips and Michael pulls up and buries the shot to give him a 1-point lead. That may have been. Who knows what will unfold.
what's good, YouTube? It's your boy James. I hope it's all good for you, because it's all good for me. Imagine if you were an NBA player and the only time you were known in your career is when you were crossed by the greatest player of all time. Not to mention, you got crossed in the final game of the NBA Finals. Well, look no further than Bryon Russell. He was a 6'7", 225-pound swingman who was mainly known for being a 3-and-D player and a highlight reel dunker. He was also an intricate part of the successful Jazz teams that were in the 1990s, and with the leadership of John Stockton, the amazing shooting of Jeff Hornacek, and the pure power of Malone, the Jazz achieved many things in the 90s, including 2 consecutive NBA Finals appearances. But this video isn't to talk about the favorite team my boy blocks for days, but the man himself, Bryon Russell. So let's get started. And before I tell you all the story, if you're a new viewer here, welcome to the James Safor channel. You may consider subscribing and hit the bell for notifications. I make videos every Thursday related to basketball. I write articles on Harvard and Media from time to time, and I go on Twitter once in a while. So again, welcome to the channel. And for my subs who've been liking, subscribing, and supporting me on YouTube and Harvard Media, I want to thank you guys so much. Let's get the video to 10 minutes. I appreciate y'all. Born on New Year's Eve 1990 in San Bernardino, California, Russell attended California State University, Long Beach, which is the same school that both small forwards James Ennis and NBA legend George Gervin went to. Also, NFL Hall of Fame running back Terrell Davis went there as well. Go Broncos. But as for Bryon Russell, he had a solid career for the 49ers, as he averaged 11.7 points, 6.6 rebounds, 1.5 steals, and shot over 50% from the field in his 3 seasons there. He did lead his team to the NCAA tournament, but they lost in the round of 64 to Illinois. And because he came from an unpopular school, in the 93 draft, Russell was selected 45th overall in the 2nd round by the Jazz. And in the same draft, the Jazz picked up 7'2" center Luther Wright, 1st round, 18th overall, but he would be out of the league after 1 season because of mental issues. I suggest you go watch Big Q's video if you want to hear more about Luther Wright's story if you have the time. So anywho, this was the perfect situation for Russell, as he had a legendary coach Jerry Sloan to learn from. Not to mention, he was surrounded by a team that had their 10th out of 20th consecutive playoff appearance. That is number 4 for the most consecutive playoff appearances in NBA history. The reason why the Jazz drafted both Luther Wright and Bryon Russell was because the Jazz roster was getting older. And for example, Mark Eaton, one of the best defensive centers of all time, was 36 and washed up. Then you had 3 of the best scorers on the team, John Stockton, Karl, and Jeff Malone, all at 30 years old. And so in Bryon Russell's first 3 seasons in the league, his numbers would drop tremendously. He averaged 5 points in his rookie season, 4.5 in his second, and 2.9 in his third. The Jazz weren't getting any better either. They couldn't even get to the NBA Finals. They were losing to and his Rockets twice, and Sean Kemp and his Supersonics once during the 3-year span. That's why in the 95 draft, the Jazz picked up Greg Oystertag. He was the perfect 7'2" center that they needed to bring some rim protection. Essentially, he was Luther Wright's replacement. And after having 3 seasons, Russell tremendously improved. The reason for this was because David Benwell, the Jazz starting small forward at the time, ruptured his Achilles, and so Russell was given a chance to shine. To prove this, in his first 9 games for the 96-97 season, Russell was averaging 10 points, 4.7 rebounds, 1.5 steals, and shot 40% from the 3-point line. It may not seem that impressive on paper, but it's way better compared compared to his first 3 seasons in the league. Now you may be thinking, James, why you talk about his first 9 games of that season? Well, because the 10th game of the season had a meaning to it. Fast forward to 2009. Michael Jordan is at a podium to give his Hall of Fame speech. The same speech that started the infamous Michael Jordan crying meme. And Jordan recalled a story that he had with Russell back in '94.
When I first met Bryon Russell, John and Carl should remember this. I was in Chicago in 1994. I was working out for baseball. They came down for a workout and shoot around. I came over to say hello. And at this time, I had no thoughts of coming back and playing a game of basketball. And Bryon Russell came over to me and said, you know what, man, why'd you quit? Why'd you quit? You know I can guard you. If I ever see you in a pair of shorts, you remember this, John? And so when I did decide to come back in 1995, and then we played Utah in '96, I'm at the center circle, and Bryon Russell sitting next to me, and I look over to Bryon. I said, you remember this conversation you made in 1994 about I think I can guard you, I can shut you down, I would love to play against you. Well, you about to get your chance.
And indeed, Russell got his chance. As on November 23rd, 1996, the Jazz were at Salt Lake City with a 72 record. Meanwhile, the Bulls were undefeated at 12-0, and Jordan has something to prove.
Oh, you make me wanna talk back to you. Say it like that. If I hate you, then find someone new. Baby, but you know I never will. No, so I choke you down just like a pill.
Right, little left. What a show, and they love it here in Utah. What's Michael's move? Watch this. Whoop. Where'd he go? Oh. Poor Bryon Russell, that broke his ankle.
You know, while I was editing this video, just watching Michael Jordan, I was just full of amazement. He was doing some crazy. It was like he was leading a symphony orchestra. And Jordan would finish the game with 44 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and his revenge on Bryon Russell. And because Karl Malone and John Stockton each had a double-double, and Russell had 17 points, the Jazz escaped 105-100. And notice the word I said, escape. Yeah, I say this because the Jazz may have won that November evening, but they'll have to meet this man again sometime down the road. The Jazz, led by MVP Karl Malone, finished with a 64-18 record and had the best record in the West. They defeated both LA teams in the first 2 rounds, Clippers and Lakers respectively, but in the Western Conference Finals they had a tough challenge to face. They were going up against Hakeem, the same guy that eliminated him twice in the playoffs a couple years ago. Now remember, he brought Clyde Drexler and Charles Barkley with him, but Game 6 of the series became an instant classic. Bryon Russell had a game-high 44 minutes and he scored 15 points. He also had a clutch 3 down the stretch, but John Stockton put the team on his back with 15 fourth-quarter points, 25 in total, and 13 assists, and also had a series-clinching buzzer beater to advance to the NBA Finals for the first time in franchise history. And before we go to the 97 Finals, I found an article on Spokesman.com, link in the description, that talks about Bryon Russell guarding Jordan in the 97 Finals. I'll read it to you guys. The Utah player defending Michael Jordan in the NBA Finals is so little known that not even Jordan can remember his name. Is it Bryon or Byron? Jordan asks. As usual, Bryon Russell didn't back down. I can get him back, he said. Is it Michael or Michelle? After the last 2 games, Jordan should remember the face at least. Since Russell switched to guard Jordan after game 2, Michael has not been his usual awesome self, and the Jazz have beaten Chicago twice here to pull it at 2-2. Jordan has shot just 41% from the field at Salt Lake City after scoring 31 and 38 in the first 2 games. He's had 26 and 22. But forget about Jordan crediting Russell or anything for stopping him. His defense is active, but I can't really see how he's eliminating anything I want to do, Jordan said. I face obviously better defensive players. I'm not saying he's a good defensive player, I just don't think he's a problem. Russell is relinquishing the challenge. It probably makes a name for myself. Plus, this is something I can tell my grandchildren and children that I got a chance to stick to the best basketball player in the world. And as the article entails, the series was tied 2-2, mainly because of the perimeter defense of Bryon Russell. But before Game 5, Michael Jordan would suffer flu-like symptoms because of food poisoning, and Ahmed Rashad, a sportscaster, said, "I talked to him before the game, and I said, 'How do you feel?' And he says, 'I really feel horrible.' It is history in games where he's either been hurt or sick. It's been bad for the opponent." And history repeated itself in Game 5 as Michael Jordan would drop 38 points, grab 7 rebounds, dish out 5 assists, and come up clutch for the Chicago Bulls. Bryon Russell may have played good defense in Games 3 and 4, but he couldn't stop a sick Michael Jordan. No pun intended. Then in Game 6, Jordan would have a 39 and 11 rebound double-double to win his 5th NBA title. The following year, the Utah Jazz didn't do much during the offseason because they felt that they could compete against the Bulls again. And for Bryon Russell's case, he was 27 years old in his prime years, whereas the trio of John Stockton, Jeff Hornacek, and Karl Malone were entering the mid-30s. So they felt that this was their last shot to obtain an NBA championship. But as you guys remember from the intro, Michael Jordan in his final game as a Bull would decimate the Jazz in Game 6 of the '98 Finals with 45 points and unleash his inner Kobe with 1 assist in that game. Although Russell would average 10 points and 5 rebounds throughout his 12 total finals games of his career, he will forever be known as the guy that got shelved by Jordan in the 1998 NBA Finals. Now, the question of the video. Two years after Russell was shoved, he would have his best season of his career in 1999 to 2000. He would have a career high 14.1 points, another career high of 1.6 steals, and shot 39.6% from the three-point line. So in hindsight, he wasn't doing so bad. But the Jazz were clearly on the last legs, and even when Jordan was retired for the second time, they still lost to the Portland Trailblazers in 6 games in the semifinals that year. Then on November 16, 2001, Russell and Jordan would meet again since the shot, and they would talk so much to each other. And it got into Russell's head a bit, as he had 0 points in 9 minutes off the bench for that game. Meanwhile, Michael Jordan, at 38 years old, dropped 44 points and had 7 rebounds to teach Russell a lesson. And so when the Jazz had 3 consecutive first-round exits from 2001 to 2003, Russell will sign a 2-year contract with the Wizards in 2002. The reason for this signing was because GM at the time, Wes Unseld, said, "Bryon not only fits our need for an athletic small forward, but he also provides us with veteran experience that includes 9 trips to the playoffs and 2 NBA Finals trips. In addition to help us win games, we are confident that he will help us in the development of our younger players." And of course, Russell signed with the Wizards while Michael Jordan was on the same team. Well, you know what they say, if you can't beat him, join him. Seriously, like, Jordan had made Russell his bitch for almost half a decade, yet he decides to join the same team as him. That's like Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan joined LeBron James. But anyways, Russell, who was 32 at the time, will have his worst season of his career since his 3rd season. He was averaging 4.5 points and shot a pitiful 35.3% from the field. The following season, which was 2003-2004, Russell signed with the already stacked Lakers roster of Kobe, his former teammate Karl Malone, Shaquille O'Neal, and Gary Payton. But the Lakers signed Russell because Rick Fox, their starting small forward at the time, suffered an ankle injury and needed surgery during the offseason. So Russell was signed to fill in his place as a 3-and-D player. Unfortunately, the Lakers would lose to the Pistons in the 2004 NBA Finals, and Russell wasn't really a factor to the team. I guess he was simply there to provide veteran leadership. And to end his career, he had 2 forgettable seasons with the Nuggets. And lastly, this year, 2018, Russell felt that the Jazz should retire his jersey.
Boy, if you don't get...
Bro, he couldn't even average 15 and 5 in a season. That's like Brandon Knight saying the Pistons should retire my number 7 jersey because I got dunked on by DeAndre Jordan. And that's like Tyronn Lue saying his number 10 jersey should be retired by the Lakers because he got crossed up by AI. But I digress. I gotta ask y'all something. Do you think the Jazz should retire his number though? Just vote in the card above in the right upper hand corner. And this is his opinion of the shove in 1996.
Take us through that play one more time, as you've done many times before.
Well, he wasn't going to beat me, first of all. I didn't think I was going to let him go by me, but I guess he had other plans, and probably was the best no call in sports history. He got away with one, but it's a judgment call. The referees didn't call it. I thought he fouled me. They thought he didn't, so.
To end things off, despite having one of the most embarrassing moments in his life, he always seems to be positive and just humorous. Him and Jordan will always be great frenemies. Overall, Bryon Russell never let that moment of Michael Jordan shoving him in Game 6 negatively affect him. And that is the video, guys. If you stick to the end, you are a beast. Here are my Twitter and Hard Amino accounts. If you're new, I, James Will, Safor, make basketball videos every Thursday. It was really fun researching about Bryon Russell, and I hope you had fun watching this video too. Let's get 60 subscribers, guys. I'm so close to it. If you like and subscribe, you will help me do what I love, which is making basketball videos for you guys every Thursday and making sure it's on fire content. And this was your boy James. Hope it's all good for you, because it's all good for me. I'm out, guys.
And believe me, ever since that day, he got his chance. I don't know how succeeding he was, but I think he had his chance, and believe me, I relished on that point. And from this day forward, if I ever see him in shorts, I'm coming at him.
Ex told me that he trapped in his damn mind, and I feel like I relate when I'm not fine. I don't really feel the same on the outside, when I really want to die on the inside. How the fuck I get here in the first place? Don't have to push left like a car brake. I don't want to